to our third edition of A Psalm a Day. A Psalm a Day. This is day 3. This is the 3rd of April. And so we are in the third Psalm. Hey, what's up, Christina? How you doing, sis? What's going on? And this is one of my favorite Psalms. And so I'm excited to read this with you and to pray this with you this morning. And I pray that you are blessed as a result of our brief time together. So listen, Psalm 3. Let's get it. Lord, how they have increased who trouble me. Many are they who rise up against me. Many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God. There is no help for him in God. Selah is what the Selah, there's a pause there. But you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory, and the one who lifts up my head. I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. I lay down and slept. I awoke, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me all around. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for you have struck all my enemies on the cheekbone. You have broken the teeth of the ungodly. Salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing is upon your people. Your blessing is upon your people. What's up, Marquise? How you doing, brother? We're good down here, Christina. This is my favorite psalm. I love this psalm. One of my favorites, I should say. And it has one of my favorite verses in it, which is verses 3 and 4. And where it says, but you, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory. And the King James says, and the lifter of my head. I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. Listen, really briefly this morning, this psalm was written by David, and it's a prayer that he prayed and a song that he wrote when he was fleeing from his son Absalom. If you know the story, Absalom, he did some crazy stuff. God has been good to us, Marquise, and he turned the nation against David, and David had to flee, and the people had given up on David and thought that David was too old to contend with his son, and that he would eventually lose. So the people went with Absalom, and Absalom was very crafty in how he did that. But I love this psalm because it offers us some great instruction, and it offers us a great model for prayer. I love David's prayer life. And if you're not reading Psalms and meditating on Psalms and praying the Psalms, you really should spend some time, because David really gives us the model for what prayer should look like in good times, in bad times, and doesn't matter what you're going through. David has a prayer for pretty much all kind of different facets of life. But one of the things I love about David is that no matter how he goes into prayer, somewhere in his time of talking to God, his perspective always shifts from his problem to his God. He comes into this psalm and he says, Lord, they have increased who trouble me. Many rise up against me. Many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God. He had no problem being honest with God. And you shouldn't either when you pray. You should be honest with God and upfront with God about what it is you're struggling with or you're dealing with. But immediately in his prayer, he turns and says, but God, but oh Lord, you are still a shield for me. You are still my glory, and you are still the lifter of my head. And he makes a statement here that you need to know for your life. Verse 4 today is a very important verse for us. You need to be convinced of this. You need to have faith and hope in this one thing. And that is when you cry to the Lord, that he hears you. That when you cry to the Lord, that he hears you. First John tells us that this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And we know that if he hears us, we have the petitions, whatever he has asked of us. That is a scripture that teaches us about even the answer for prayer. But watch this. What David says to you is, before you get to the answer, just know this. When you are in distress and you cry out to God, God hears you from his holy hill, from where he's sitting and from where he's placed in Zion. Which for them, it was on the mountain because the Ark of the Covenant was up on this Mount Zion. But for us, Zion refers to the kingdom, to the heavenly realm for us, and even for the realm that we're in right now, that God hears your prayer. But no matter what you're facing, no matter how hard it seems, God's ear is open to you. And so David then says after that, he said, and so I lay down and slept. And it doesn't matter. He said they were chasing me. Many of them have I had to leave my land. My son was against me. He turned the people against me. It seems like my circumstances were overwhelming. People were saying there's no hope for me. He said, but in verse 5, I still went to sleep. And I still got up because the Lord sustained me. He covered me. And so then he says, and because of this, I will not be afraid. This keeps coming up over and over and again, even in my teaching now and in my meditation, that we have to break the spirit of fear. We need to break the spirit of fear. We don't have to be afraid of what we're facing. We don't have to be afraid of what we're going through, because God hears us and he's here for us. And don't allow your circumstances to convince you that God doesn't hear you, and then don't allow fear to consume you. David said, I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me all around. I won't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It doesn't matter how many cases of COVID there are. It doesn't matter how many deaths of COVID there are. It doesn't matter how many. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you've been laid off. It doesn't matter if you've been furloughed. It doesn't matter. You still have to put yourself in a position that says, no matter what I'm looking at, no matter what I'm facing, I will not fear. Because fear is the opposite of faith, and fear is a form of faith. Faith is trust that what God has said will come to pass. Fear is trusting what the enemy is telling you will come to pass. And what you place your trust in, you're going to receive from. Whatever direction you, what's going on, Brother Ricky? Whatever direction you put your trust in, whatever direction or whatever source you look to, you're going to receive from. You're going to receive from. Think about it like this. If there are two people standing in front of you and they're both talking to you at the same time, whichever person you look at is who you're going to begin to hear the most. It's where you're going to receive from. And which makes a good point, because David then turns and says, arise, O Lord, save me, O God, for you have struck all my enemies on the cheekbone. Watch this. You pimp slap my enemies. He said, you pimp slap my enemies. That prayer is a sign of great dishonor and disrespect. If to slap someone across the face, he said, God, you slap my enemies across the face. You've broken their teeth, the teeth of the ungodly. To break teeth means to make powerless. Watch this. He says, salvation belongs to the Lord. Your blessing, God, is upon your people. He said, salvation belongs to the Lord. Watch this. In the middle of all he was dealing with, David did this very important thing. He kept his eyes on God. His focus was not on all of the people who rose up against him. His focus was on God. He gave the trouble 2 verses, 2 moments in the prayer, and he gave God the other 6 verses, or the other, it's not verses for him, but, he gave a mention in his prayer and in his song and in his letter, his psalm that he wrote out as he prayed. He gave them two, just a mention, and the rest he gave to God. Watch this, because no matter what you're dealing with, your focus needs to be on your Savior. Don't focus on the issue, focus on God. If you take anything away from this today, I want you to take 2 things away from this today: that God hears your prayer, and that you need to keep your focus on him. Let me give you 3 things to take away from this today. God hears your prayer. Don't let fear consume you. Keep your eyes on God. No matter what you're facing, no matter what the situation is, if it's sickness, keep your eyes on God. If it's a financial situation, keep your eyes on God. If you're having issues in your marriage or with your children and your family, keep your eyes on God. If you're having issues with employment, keep your eyes on God. God hears you. You have no reason to fear. I'm not going to sing because That's not my thing. People are gonna get frustrated with me. Keep your eyes on, but thirdly, keep your eyes on. Whatever you focus on is what you're gonna receive from. Grab that analogy. I got two people standing in front of me talking. Whichever person I set my eyes on is the person I'm gonna hear. They're both still talking. Sound is going into my ears from both of them, but I am going to receive from the person that I'm looking at. That's it for today. That's your psalm of the day today. You're taking away three things from today. God hears you when you cry out to him. You have no reason to fear. Don't let fear consume you in this season, even when you come out of the season. Number three, keep your eyes on God, because salvation belongs. It's God who determines when, how, where you will be delivered from your situation. So keep your eyes on him, because salvation belongs to him. Soteria belongs. Deliverance belongs to God. He closed it out by saying his blessing, your blessing, God, is upon your people. We're blessed in the city. We're blessed in the field. We're blessed when we come. What's up, Brother Ty? We're blessed when we go. Psalm of the day, Psalm 3 today. Last time, because I don't want you to miss it. You're taking away from today one, what? I can't even hear you. That's dumb. One, God hears you when you pray. Two, don't let fear consume you. Three, keep your eyes on God. I love you all. God bless y'all. Share this to your story if you don't mind. Let the people of God see what the word was today. Like, share, whatever. I don't even really know what you do on Instagram Live. Post it to your story. Let somebody hear you. Hear the word of the Lord for today. Love you too, brother. God bless you. Psalm 3, Psalm of the day for today. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. So we'll do what's that, Will? Well, oh, sorry. Well, no, I'm just so